I studied graphic design at mainstream college, and my dream was always to work for a big London design company. I've got SMA type 2, and I use a power chair to get around. And yeah, this is kind of my story about how I started my career and where I ended up.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Katie. It's good that the viewers can get a grasp of who you are and a bit of your background. Obviously, the reason I've pulled you in to talk on this particular module is I know, we've all, having had disabilities and then going into the world of work, had that quite scary sort of first few days in the office when you haven't maybe been employed before. So if you could kind of share the job that you were in and you were starting as a general sentiment, and then some of the barriers that you came up against, and then the ways that you and your employers overcame them.
Yeah, sure. Well, I don't know that many of you know, but design is a really, really competitive business. So when I left college, I was kind of competing with thousands and thousands of other students that had just graduated, and most of them weren't in the same position as me. So I had to sort of be better than everyone else, or try and be better than everyone else. So I actually sort of started by sending my CV out and doing the usual kind of thing and trying to show my portfolio to as many people as possible. Even if there wasn't a chance of a job, it was just trying to get myself out there.
Mm-hmm.
And most people and companies were really impressed with my portfolio, which was great, but nothing really came of it.
Okay.
So it took me 2 years in total to actually find a job.
Right.
And it was a small company not far from where I was living who actually gave me a break, and it was quite funny because a couple of people that worked there I went to college with.
Okay.
So that probably helped a bit.
Yeah, sure.
So of course they loved my portfolio, which is great because that's what I was needed for, creativity.
Yeah.
And obviously they were a bit kind of nervous. They'd never probably had anything to do with anyone with a disability before in their entire life. But they gave me the job on the strength of my ability, which was great. And then everything else we kind of worked out as we went along.
So I mean, I suppose when you were sort of going in on those first few days, was there anything about the building or about the workspace that wasn't suitable for you?
Yeah, there was a big step to get in.
Right.
So that was the first obstacle. But I had a set of ramps, so I brought them along, and so that wasn't a problem.
Brilliant.
They didn't have any toilet facilities,
right.
So that was another problem, which we overcame by, because I was only 15 minutes away, my house was, I used to rush home at lunchtime, and then rush back again. I only had an hour for lunch, so it was a bit stressful, but we managed.
Yeah.
The other problem at the time was I didn't actually have any live-in PAs.
Okay.
At the time, I only had a home care that came in the morning and just in the morning then. So obviously that all had to change at the same time. So I ended up recruiting some people to drive me to and from work, and then tried to time everything with home care being there exactly the time when I arrived. And yeah, it was a bit of a juggling thing.
You have to become a logistics expert, don't you?
Yeah, you do. You do. But obviously, things got easier after that when I got my live-in PA, which made life so much easier. And but it took about 6 months, so it was quite a struggle for that length of time. But when you've got this job that you've been searching for so long, nothing else matters. You're going to do whatever you can because you're so pleased and happy to be in that position where you've always dreamed of being.
Absolutely.
That I think, you just work by things.
And how about, did you use Access to Work at all for any of your support?
Yes. My experience wasn't that great with them.
Okay.
I'd had contact with them before I found my job, but they'd never really given me any leads anywhere else. So I finally got this job and met the Access to Work supervisor, whatever they call themselves now. And they immediately suggested that I took another job that they'd miraculously just found at Yellow Pages, which was inputting adverts.
Okay.
So I turned the Yellow Pages fingers upside down and told them where to go on that one. It wasn't very helpful.
Sure.
So when they kind of realised that I wasn't going to move and that this is where I was going to be, this was my job, I'd found it, and this is what I wanted to do, they didn't really help much. They suggested about putting a portaloo in the car park so that I could go to use the loo at lunchtime.
Right, okay.
But if you'd seen the size of the car park, you'd know that was just not going to happen.
So maybe it wasn't the most sort of positive of experiences, but I think because a couple of the interviews that I've done, there was definitely a more forward-fitting practical support from Access to Work, and I guess partly it's sort of like you said, you stood your ground and you knew what you needed, and you were confident about your needs. So
I think it's to do with luck as well, to be honest, because I think, as with everywhere, you get some people who are very great and helpful and good at their job, and some people which maybe aren't. So, which was proven actually because my company actually moved about 2 years after I joined.
Okay.
And they moved to a specially converted barn, and Access to Work that was in Hertfordshire, and they were completely different. They were so helpful. They couldn't do enough. So yeah. It's just luck of the draw, I guess.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll sort of wind this interview up. We're going to be chatting in the later modules about career progression and then self-employment. So, is there one sort of thing that you would pass on for anyone that's worried about starting at their first day in a new job?
Starting. I mean, if you're starting, then you've got that. You've done most of the hard work.
Yeah.
It does. It is a bit daunting, well, very daunting, but, you can work through things. Once you're there, once you know what you've got to deal with, it's, easy to work through it and get the stuff you need. And as long as you've got a good boss, which obviously you will have, if they're giving you a break, they're going to understand that there's going to be a few difficulties and things. But, no, I think, you've done the hard bit by getting the job. So anything after that is
a breeze.
Well, yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time, Katie, and we'll catch up with you again later on.
Thank you.